We are Group 4 and we selected the topic of improving scheduling with Agile. It will be presented by Andrea Niemann, Bruce Lindemann, and myself, Estefania Murillo. Our table of contents. After introduction, we are going to see an overview, then an analysis of the key players and their objections, the plan and how. We are going to address each persona's objections using Lean, and last but not least, our call to action to implement the project. We hope you enjoy our presentation. I am passing on to my teammate Bruce.
The problem with most projects is I've got way too much time on my hands. Not. In construction projects, time is money. We typically do not have too much time on our hands. On the contrary, it's limited and typically in high demand. Construction projects rely on the right building materials and required equipment being on site at the right time and in the right sequence. A flatbed of steel decking needs to arrive in concert with the crane that needs to offload it into the building being constructed. Time is also critical to show progress to the customer at frequent intervals. How do we conserve time? In planning, in executing, in tracking on all of our construction projects. One answer towards improving our time management is simplicity. By creating project plans that are simple and not overly detailed, we are able to maintain focus, update plans more easily and quickly, and report progress to the customer more accurately and frequently. Estefania and Andrea will present our case and the metrics involved that show that time is a valuable and limited asset.
The overview. Let me tell you a little bit more context about our project. So Andrea works as a project scheduler for a general contractor. She works with several different teams. Each team consists of 1 or 2 superintendents, 1 project manager, and 1 or 2 project engineers. Teams like to schedule differently in the way they track all activities. Some of our teams schedule overly complex details. This causes a lot of misses in the report when they are updating. Other teams are much simpler in their scheduling tracking. We have 2 goals here. One is to implement Agile methodologies to overly complex styles of schedules. Then we'll cut schedule update times, reduce misses, which will lift team performance score overall and make the process much more efficient. The goal 2 is to convince all project superintendents to create their schedule at a roughly comparable level of details, keeping the project tasks at a high level.
Here we will discuss the data reviewed weekly and the scores against our performance. This is a performance against schedule Pareto chart reviewed by the customer and our company. Every week we must update that week's activities in our schedules. If a start date or finish date of an activity is pulled in or pushed out, that is classified as a miss. These misses cause our company's overall performance score to decrease. The customer wants our company to stick with the start and finish dates that we agreed to upon the creation of our schedules. The customer's desired PAS score for our company is between 90 and 100%. But as you can see, the common percentage is between 70 and 80%. Simplifying our schedules in a manner where several activities are compiled and tracked as one longer duration activity will limit the amount of misses per week and increase our company's overall PAS score. Due to the PAS data on our company over the last year, our customer has brought 2 other general contractors on site to review their performance. Our company now has competition like it hasn't seen in over 20 years. Having schedules with thousands of activities to track weekly causes unnecessary stress and increases our weekly misses. The longer the schedule is, equates to a longer meeting every single week to review what we call a 3 week look ahead. This looks at all the activities coming up over the next 3 weeks. Our teams have several different projects that they work on, so increased schedule size increases the amount of time weekly spent updating these schedules. Our superintendents need to be out in the field monitoring the work physically being done. Project managers and engineers have several other types of meetings to attend weekly with the customer and trade partners. Teams with excessively large schedules spend an average of 4 to 5 hours a week with the teams updating activities. Decreasing the schedule size will decrease overall scheduling time to roughly 1 to 2 hours a week. Attached is an example of a fairly simple P6 schedule. As you can see from mobilization to project closeout, there are no more than 20 activities. We definitely cannot simplify a schedule with 1,000 activities down to 20, but this is just to present an overall goal for most existing and new schedules. Simplifying.
The analysis. Now we'll discuss the analysis by identifying the roles of the people in the team. Who is a skeptic, a follower, a diehard, and a saboteur? Then continue explaining onboarding tactic for each persona and then the methodology implementation such as continuous improvement through Agile using Lean. Roles identified. Now we're going to talk about each of the roles identified in our analysis in the next slides. Let's talk about first our skeptic, which is Carrie. Carrie is a project manager. She has been a project manager for 3 years and running the progressive building team the entire 3 years. She was introduced to scheduling in a matter and doesn't know any other method. Doubtful of implementing the changes, likes the way things are already. Then let's introduce Nielsen. Nielsen is a follower. He is a project engineer, and he has been in the company for 2 years right after college. He is familiar with the Agile methodologies. He does not believe the customer will want to see all schedules built this way. Adam is a die-hard of the group. He is a superintendent. Adam came to work for the company as an assistant superintendent and has slowly worked his way up to the lead superintendent for his team. Has worked for the company for 10 years. Adam now directs a lot of work for his team. He has the last say in the schedules we keep track of. Adam does not want to lose his superiority by having lesser schedules. Now I'm going to introduce Chip. He is a saboteur and he is a senior superintendent. Chip has worked for the company for 25 years and has worked his way up to senior superintendent. He oversees some of the top teams that work on some of the most complex projects. Over the years, he has developed a love for very detailed schedules and thinks simplified schedules look lazy and unprofessional. He has an experience with the company trying to simplify in the past and those processes never stuck. He does not like the idea of trying to change. Now we're going to talk about facing change, possible objections and tool strategies to overcome each of them. Carrie. Carrie quotes, "I am not convinced this will work. I've only scheduled projects in a detailed manner and I am comfortable doing it that way. If this was worth it, why hadn't been this done before?" Clearly, Carrie is a skeptic. She is a skeptic because she is not only convinced Agile methodologies will work, She has some willingness to admit that Agile is fine for some domains and environments, but not from hers and what she does for the company. Carrie's doubts went to the point where she was resisting the transition in small but important ways. She will sometimes claim to support some of the new practices, but could continue to work as she always had. For instance, she said that she supported working iteratively and claimed to understand the value of it, but in practice she didn't. She could skip one or two of the meetings with the team. Now, let's quote Chip. Chip is a saboteur. Chip quotes, "I can't possibly do my planning in a simple manner. There are too many details that could be missed which must be specifically included in the project plan." Chip is a saboteur. Chip is a saboteur because, as a difference from Carrie, he had been soliciting others to his cause. He has been speaking with others in the superintendent meetings because he simply don't want things to be different, even though results will be better. Now let's hear from Adam. Adam quotes, "I've been planning my projects this way since before you were born. Why should I change now? I like planning my projects this way." Adam is a diehard. Adam has worked hard to gain in the title and position that he is in. He likes scheduling done in his way, and he's afraid that if others are brought in to support him during the change, it will make him look bad so. It is important for management to guide Adam during the time but not belittle him. Incorporating these changes is important for the overall success for the company. It is an overall goal for everyone, and the clearer that is made to Adam and any other diehard, the better they should inevitably feel about these changes. Now let's hear from Nielsen. Nielsen quotes, "I've started this approach in college and personal reading, and I agree that some customers may want to see a simpler schedule, but I don't believe all of them will." Nielsen is a follower. We need to assess Nielsen's performance and overall opinions of simplifying the schedules. Get him one-on-one and ask about how he is implementing the changes. If he is indeed a valued asset but is being blocked by other negative forces on his direct team, it may be time to pick another team for him to work on this with. Maybe even add him to a team that already produces simple schedules. To that, he may gain necessary experience to later generate under other teams. We'll hear more about facing changes and responding to change later on from Andrea.
Responding to change resistance. For skeptics like Carrie, provide training. Plan training sessions using some of the more experienced superintendents and project managers who have clearly demonstrated success at maintaining projects and simpler planning, and have them help lead the training. Make sure skeptics are mixed in with others who are more open minded about the change. Avoid scheduling skeptics to attend alongside any saboteurs if possible. Also, push the issue. After training has ensued, test Carrie's resistance level and ask her to overview some of her existing schedules and provide examples on how to simplify activities. Keep her engaged with her team on implementing the new process. Sit in on schedule update meetings and observe Carrie's engagement on the implementation of this new process. For a saboteur like Chip, be sure the right people are talking. For a hard headed superintendent with many years of experience, it's hard for someone like that to take advice or direction from someone he does not know and is trying to change his way of thinking and functioning. It could deem extremely helpful bringing in someone they deeply trust or respect as a resort to help guide them to the acceptance of this new method and process of scheduling. For a diehard like Adam, align incentives. If senior management is on board with this effort, they could take steps to provide incentives for superintendents to make the change. Aligning key metrics with this effort and then finding low key ways of rewarding progress on those metrics would help to incentivize the superintendents to join in. Create dissatisfaction with the status quo. If the simplified projects are successful, then promote those successful visually in the workplace. If the business is in stiff competition with other companies and the simplified plans are easier for the customer to understand, make that apparent for all. If there's favorable feedback from customers regarding more understandable plans, put those comments somewhere where all can see them. Use visuals for key metrics. If there are key metrics that are impacted by the complexity of project schedules, such as missed targets and the time it takes to update the plan, etc., perhaps these could be displayed on a visual whiteboard or a computer display in an obvious place. If the metrics are reviewed by management and observed by all, it will quickly become apparent which projects are doing better than the others. This could encourage diehards or skepticals superintendents to get on board. And this could even be more powerful if key executives mention those metrics at meetings or reviews. For followers like Nielsen, involve them. Ask Nielsen if he would be willing to work on a small team to help compile good examples of recent projects that have been successful in simplifying their schedules. Working alongside peers who have had success at their projects could open his mind more, and compiling some success stories could help convince him of its effectiveness. Model the right behavior yourself. Make sure all managers at the middle and upper levels understand the importance of their role in modeling this approach, and ask them to make opportunities to talk with some of the followers to ensue they understand management's commitment to this and observe successful results for themselves. Praise the right behavior. After Nielsen has shown some success in the right direction and he is generating good ideas towards the goal, be sure to praise those. That will fuel him to continue down this path.
Introducing lean principles to the project teams. The lean principles are 5 main points. Number 1 is to define value. Number 2 is to map value stream. Number 3 is to create flow. Number 4 is to establish pool. And number 5, pursue the perfection.
Our implementation will take the lean methodology and apply it to this project in the following way. Lean Principle 1, Define Value, will take the form of our first step, which is to meet with management to confirm what constitutes value to our customers. Construction project plans that are concise and accurate, on-schedule execution, quality work, timely tracking and reporting of status, visible metrics, and on-time, on-budget completion. We'll also review other value propositions that are identified. Principle 2, Map the Value Stream, will be conducted with our key, simple leaders to identify the tactics and tools that they use to plan and manage their projects in a simple manner, to identify metrics that are and will be useful in tracking such projects, also to plan how to promote and spread this approach across the company. Principle 3, Create Flow, will focus on conducting a pilot project using the tactics and tools identified in the value stream mapping. This project will constitute an example of how to accomplish simple planning and demonstrate visible proof of the effectiveness of this approach. Lean Principle 4, Establish Flow, will be broken into several phases: to train team members and promote the new approach, to begin to introduce it into selected upcoming projects, and finally, to broadcast it company-wide to all new projects. Finally, Principle 5, to pursue perfection, will have been built into the prior phases by making frequent feedback, review, and improvement sessions a part of each phase and each project. By doing these 5 steps, we will be defining value, identifying and eliminating waste, improving flow, providing visuals of our process and metrics, and fostering continuous improvement. Let's now look in detail at each of our 5 steps of introducing simple and lean into our company. As we begin this project, key senior leaders need to embrace this publicly and be involved. To accomplish this, we will include them upfront in defining what constitutes value in our company. We recognize that time is value, especially in construction projects large and small. We will work with management to build on this and demonstrate the potential value of using simple planning and execution in our construction projects. Andy is the head superintendent, has worked for the company for 15 years. Susie, the lead scheduler, has also worked for the company for 15 years, 9 of them being a scheduler. Both have worked on teams of both scheduling styles. Overall, between Andy and Susie, it is known that they do prefer the simpler scheduling styles and techniques, but there has never been a major need for this technique for all teams on site. However, our primary customer has brought 2 other general contractors on site over the past year, and this has made Andy and Susie nervous about losing work to these other GCs. Once presented with the idea to simplify schedules to increase PAS, our team believes getting buy-in from Andy and Susie will not be difficult. Our value proposition is to show 1. Time savings, to show metrics on time to create plan and time to update plan. 2. Task completion improvement, improve the percent on time and showing the steps and the how-tos. And 3. To show the results of improvements in these areas: customer satisfaction, on-time performance, customer visibility to the schedule, and timeliness of updates. As they buy into this project, Andy and Susie and other senior leaders need to show visible support, that is, to express to all teams how important this is to our long-range viability and growth. To show up at meetings, presentations, walkarounds. To affirm simplicity openly to everyone, and along with that to model simplicity, that is, to adopt simple techniques for their own work and projects. Some of these techniques will unfold as we go through this and the next step. Next, we will include other key superintendents who are already doing simple planning in their own projects. They will also need to embrace this publicly and talk it up. Now that we have defined value, we will define the flow and dive into more detail. We will gather data from simple planners on how to simplify tasks, combining related tasks together, which increases duration of each activity, streamline updates, show progress, the PAS score will increase, and satisfy customers. The customer wants the PAS score to be 90 to 100%. We'll also gather key metrics, agree how they're measured, and what defines improvement for each metric. Some metrics are task completion, estimates to complete, and visibility to stakeholders. We'll also review how their projects have succeeded and compile existing success stories. And finally, we'll look at what tools they use, define and create templates, and other aids for using those tools. Now that we are ready to take the step of formally and visibly running a pilot project in this way, we will need to carefully select the project superintendent and any supervisors based on experience running multiple projects using a simple approach. They need to be already on board with the plan for simplicity and should be approved in advance by Andy and Susie. We will fill the team with mostly others who have worked together on projects using a simple approach. We'll also seed in a couple of team members who are followers, or perhaps even a skeptic on the fence. Finally, the pilot project should be for a customer who is comfortable using a simple approach. The customer should be let in on the fact that this will be done using some newly revised processes, even to the point of giving them an overview of the process changes. It is critical to have management support of using the selected project as the pilot. The purpose is to clearly show that simplicity can be successful and how it works. We will display the metrics of success, create visual displays for the key metrics, and update them regularly and consistently. And at the end of the pilot, we will do a review to generate feedback and ideas for improvement, and to plan how to incorporate those improvements for the next projects. Now that we have created and successfully executed a new value stream and processes that will simplify our construction projects, it's time to replicate this approach. We will begin with training for others who are not on the pilot project and onboarding for all new hires. Trainers may include those that were on the pilot project, plus others who have worked on or led other simple projects. We will use those who provided the simple tools to teach how to use them, and we'll use real examples showing real metrics. The training will be class and individual, will include lean concepts and tools, show and tells of the pilot project and other successful simple projects, peer recommendations, management recommendations, and sharing the metrics of success, how to make those metrics visible to all, and how to share the results of feedback from the pilot and the other new improvements to be included going forward. It's important to emphasize that we will conduct training on how to create simple plans, have simple planners introduce how they accomplish this, and will interweave real success stories using projects and taught by the leaders who accomplished them. We'll show the metrics for those successful projects. Along with that, we'll group the meetings to include diehards and saboteurs with the most successful and respected simple leaders, introducing them on how to accomplish simple plans using checklists and other simplicity tactics. These tactics will have been developed in the mapping of the value stream in Step 2. Finally, we are going to include the concepts of lean and how these are being implemented, and especially stressing the value of feedback and learning to adapt based on that feedback, i.e., continuous improvement. Since we have training underway for those who are not on the pilot project, we will ask our trainees to use their newly acquired skills and tools on projects just starting up. We will determine other candidates for simple projects using peer recommendations and management recommendations. We'll place leaders on those teams and perhaps with a second superintendent who has experience in simple. We will place some on each team who have been on successful simple projects before. We'll also place some followers on each project and sprinkle diehards and saboteurs selectively. We will establish the measurements of success, showing visual boards with measurements for all to see, encourage senior managers to walk around and take note of the visuals, and talk up successes at each status meeting. And as each project completes, they will review each one individually, gathering feedback, determine which feedback needs to be acted on, define improvements for upcoming projects based on that feedback, and then share results and the feedback with all the teams. The senior leaders, Andy and Susie, plus others, will promote the successes of all of these initial projects. The final step of establishing pull will include training for others who have not yet been trained. Trainers may include those who were on other simple projects, perhaps including those still underway. We will use those who provided the simple tools to teach how to use them, and again, we'll use real examples and show real metrics. We will phase simple in for each new project start, once again pairing supervisors experienced with new ones, and plan to incorporate improvements from the prior project's feedback. Our visuals will be consistent metrics and consistent displays, updated regularly, and there for management to review. This will require close monitoring by senior management and intervention if needed as these projects roll out. And finally, once again, we will gather to review feedback and make recommendations for improvements. That will take place at the end of each project. And finally, there will be the means to share metrics, successes, and improvements with all of the teams. At this point, in step 5, we have nearly reached the end of our implementation project. We should now have established review of each project as it reaches every milestone. Compare each project to normal metrics and to simple metrics. Measure improvements. Is time getting better used? Visual display of metrics and celebration of improvements should now be widespread. We should include a summary metric showing the progress of all the projects combined that have used the new simple approach based on the same metrics used on individual projects. So all projects now should review at project milestones, whether they're on track, improved, and include the metrics, should have visuals that will review the metrics and compare them to the target and include management review. And at the end of each project, there should be a review to gather feedback, determine which feedback needs to be acted on, and to define improvements for upcoming projects based on that feedback. In other words, rinse and repeat. Share results and feedback with all the teams, and establishing a regular format or celebration for this kind of sharing. This will help to ensure that we continue to improve and pursue perfection.
Here is our timeline for introducing lean principles to the project and a quick overview. Starting in January 2021, we will start with the define value phase. If all goes well, transitioning into the value stream mapping, and that will be in May of 2021. December of 2021, the project team will begin the create flow process. And again, if all goes as planned, February 2022, we will introduce the establish pull method. By May of 2023, we should be able to pursue perfection. Special thank you from all of us in Group 4. Credits for all images used in this PowerPoint presentation came from Google Images.